From the heart of Kansas City, we bring you Buck and Bob Take on Chiefs Kingdom. I'm Bob,
I'm Buck.
and we aren't fancy analysts, but we have just as many bad takes. Buck, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. It's been a peaceful weekend. The weather's been a little all over the place, but all in all, I woke up this morning, so things are good.
Things are good. Things are good. Yeah. I am not the best, actually.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Yeah. So turns out that I'm on concussion protocol.
Who hit you?
Nobody hit me, but I fell in the middle of the night, and I don't know how, but I think my shoulder took a lot of it. Luckily, because my shoulder hurts real bad too, but I hit the side of my head, and I went back to sleep. But then when I woke up in the morning after that, I stood up and I was just like, I was dizzy and I almost fell over, and then I kept being dizzy, and then I was okay, and then I sat down and laid down and I got dizzy again. And so I went to the doctor, and yeah, turns out mild concussion, and
Tested positive for concussion protocol.
Yep. So
The story would have been better if somebody hit you. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man, that's yeah, it probably would have been, but man, it gave me a newfound respect for the players, because the concussions that they get, I can't even imagine. Because I mean, I'm fine if I'm standing up or if I'm sitting, but as soon as I move from sitting to standing up, or standing up to laying down, or just any of those changes, I spin for about 15 seconds. And it is, when I lay down, it's the worst. It's horrible. It's like, when you're really, really drunk and you just can't stop spinning every time you lay down, it's horrible. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that it's gone before Comic-Con.
I was going to say, speaking of really, really drunk, Comic-Con's coming up.
Yeah, because I'm not going to be able to drink. You can't drink until you can, but it's not smart to drink until all of your symptoms are done. So hopefully, that
big turnaround.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. It seems to be getting better. I'm trying to get a lot of rest, and I'm trying to just move slow and take it easy.
Well, listen, man, I'm not going to be convinced that you're all good to go unless you're cleared by a doctor, like in the NFL. So.
All right, I'll call up the Chiefs doctor and see if we can make that happen.
Get clearance.
All right, guys, we got a big show. We got a lot of free agency to talk about. We got some fun things to talk about. Some questions, we thought we'd answer, and some, a new segment, free agency winners and losers. We're gonna do it towards the end, and we're using a whole new software to broadcast, so hopefully this goes good. We have no idea, but we're going to see. So first up, Chiefs got themselves a new corner.
Yes.
Christian Fulton.
Man, so I watched some hype videos, and again, a hype video is just that. You're going to see all the good. But, man, this guy's got some upside. And I think at this point in his career, I trust that Spags is going to get the most out of this guy. I mean, we usually we usually draft him young, get the best out of him for the first few years, make a few of them stars, and let them go make their money. But this is a little bit different. I'm excited, but I'm hesitant to get too overexcited because the second half of last season was lackluster for him, for sure. So, we're not going to know until we know, but I love the move. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone supposedly that we were looking at in the draft, but it's like we didn't get him, I guess. But he's kind of penalty driven. He gets a lot of penalties. but last year he did like pretty good. He's a big guy too, big taller guy. So it'd be great to bring him in, and it would allow. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Concussion. uh,
Take him
our
out.
our star corner. What is his name? Oh my gosh.
Oh, McFadden. McCaffrey. Oh
Oh my
crap!
god. McDuffie.
I don't
McDuffie.
even. I don't have a concussion. I've had a couple of drinks already. Apologize.
So yeah, McDuffie. It could go back into the slot where he shined not last year but the year prior. I mean, he shined hard there, and it could help Bolton cover the middle of the field too. But yeah, do you know anything about him?
I mean, no, nothing other than what we've kind of perused over the internet over the last few days. No, no, like his personal story, anything like that. No, not a clue. I guess we'll find out.
Well,
I
last
mean, he's
year,
flashy. The highlights that I saw, he's flashy, but you kind of expect that with a corner. I like that though, because it's usually a good corner that tends to do that. So
well, okay, so last year he played 15 games, got 51 tackles, 39 solo, one interception, and seven pass deflections. Over his career, he's had 201 tackles, five interceptions, 32 deflections, and he's played 56 games. 51 of them were starts. So the funny little story here is his one interception last year was where Rashee Rice got hurt.
so it was his
It
fault.
was
It was his fault. Rasheed Rice got out for the year, and now he's coming to the Chiefs, and he's going to have to answer for that.
Yep.
That son of a bitch.
So yeah, so that's going to be a little bit.
This one interception was against Patrick Mahomes.
Mhm.
That's a microcosm of the first half of last season. It was just that you were going to get that from Mahomes.
Oh man, but
So
he's okay. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but you said that that penalties. He's somewhat penalty ridden. You didn't happen to have a stat on that, did you? By chance?
He had. I don't have a stat. I think 7. If I'm
7
pulling
last
it,
year.
and McDuffie had 9, I believe. I do know McDuffie had more. It was either 1 or 2 more, but I'm not sure exactly. But he's a very he's a very physical corner, which is cool because if you look at I look back even deeper, and the Chargers last year didn't play much press coverage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was on the Chargers, but for all of his years prior to that, I forget what team he was on, but they ran a lot of press. And he had better stats. It seems like he's much more comfortable with press. And what does Spags like to do with his corners?
Oh yeah, he loves that.
Press. So I think he's going to be a really good grab. I've heard a lot of other people talking about how he's a great great grab too, and I think he's going to work better in our system than he was in the Chargers system. So I think it's a really good pickup. I'd give it an A minus.
Well, I think it's way too early to. I mean, to just the signing alone an A minus. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but we'll see over time. I have faith that at the end of the day, it will be no worse than a B minus with what we see on the field, and that's pretty good.
Yep.
For me, I'll be happy with that. Anything better is just gravy.
Yep. So do you want to tell us all about the new quarterback we got?
Gardner Minshew. I love this guy. The long hair, as some of our listeners know, I had long hair up until a little while ago. I love the long hair. He's got attitude. He's got flair. He's had some shaky times over the last couple of years, but I think it's a whole different situation, right? He was the starter, tons of pressure. Here he's going to be the backup. There's already going to be a system in place that he can learn from the sidelines well before he'll see action, hopefully. Um, I just honestly, I think it's very similar to the Carson Wentz signing. He's a quarterback that has had success as a starter, has had shaky times as a starter, and he's probably between number 30 to number 35 best quarterback in the league.
Did
That's
he?
that,
Did
that's
he?
how I see it.
Did he play up quite a few? Like he played against us. Uh, at least one of the Raiders games. Did he have quite a few starts and games played last year? Like what
He
was his what was his stats last year?
Yeah, so he had 9 starts and he played in 10 games total. But he threw for 2,000 yards, which isn't bad. 9 touchdowns isn't bad for 10 games. But he had 10 interceptions. So
Mm.
over his career he's better than that. He's at 68 touchdowns and 34 picks over 59 games total. So career wise, I think last year was. I don't think
He was
that
playing
their
for the
plan.
Raiders.
Yes, and I don't think that he was their plan as this. I don't think to be their starter. I think it was one of those, the first couple of games, guy isn't working out. Whoever it was, I don't know. I
I
don't
don't think
follow
they
the
had a plan.
Raiders because I
I don't
mean,
think they had a plan at all.
I think he's in a much better situation right now as a backup here than being starter. Who knows, quarterback guy, by committee in Vegas.
Yeah, I think I think he's a good ad, and it's just a different vet quarterback. Although funny, he is younger than Mahomes, but still, it's a vet quarterback, and you can learn from anybody. And I'm hoping Mahomes still has that. I don't know, but I'm hoping he still has that mindset that he can learn from anybody, younger or older. It's what made me more successful in IT is that I was one of the few engineers that would listen to the help desk guys. Everybody else, all of my peers they had their noses up and were like, what's this kid gonna teach me? And I was like, well, they taught me this and this and this, and that was just yesterday. But nobody ever listened to me. You can learn from anybody.
I work with a guy 4 days out of the week who's 15 years younger than me, and he teaches me a bunch of stuff. So yeah, you can always learn. I've got a 5-year-old daughter that teaches me things.
Yep.
If you've stopped learning, you've stopped living, folks.
If you think you know it all, you've lost the game. Oh man, but okay, so yeah, we get him. I saw something recently. I don't know if anybody knows in chat, but something recently about Gardner Minshew. Maybe he was released from the Raiders because of health issues, but it was a headline. And then I didn't have a chance to read it. It was right before we were supposed to start, and we wanted to finally start on time. So
I have zero concern over a report like that, regardless of whether it's true or not. It could be completely true. My thing is, I don't think that there's any chance that the Chiefs didn't know exactly what they were getting into, and we're fine with it. Whether I, I don't think it was a broken leg because I don't think the Chiefs would take somebody with a broken leg. So it was something that they think that by my buddy Dan, the guy I was working with. Yeah, that's him. Um, and I still learn from him every once in a while. I'll never say it again, but
he's a good guy. Good guy.
yeah, he's okay. So what was I saying? Yeah.
Well, I don't know what you were saying, but I'm saying I am sad to lose. We lose Turk Wharton. Tershawn Wharton departs and goes to the Panthers. Now, Tershawn was he got a payday. He signed with the Panthers for a 3-year, $45 million deal, up to $54 million with incentives. And that's just huge for him. He deserves it big time.
He does. It saddens me because he was so effective here. I personally don't think he's worth that kind of money. So if you get an offer for that kind of money when you're not worth that kind of money, you jump on it. I think he's solid. if the Chiefs re-signed him, though, it wouldn't have been half of that.
All right, so real quick here, just to go back, Benjamin in chat over here on YouTube says that Vegas released Minshew with a failed physical designation. Minshew, 28, suffered a fractured collarbone during Las Vegas Week 12 loss to Denver and was sidelined for the rest of the season. Thank you, Ben.
Okay, so that's definitely something the Chiefs would have known.
Yep.
And so they would have been in the loop as far as his recovery, and they probably talked to several doctors. And so, again, it doesn't concern me at all why they let him go, even if it was performance-based.
But does it concern you back to Turk?
Tershawn, does it concern me?
But he goes by Turk. I mean, it's Turk. I mean, everybody calls him Turk.
No, because he's not the big-time focus of this defensive line. He's the anchor, but I don't think that's going to be our biggest concern in the offseason. I feel like you could throw any decent defensive tackle in there. We got Chris Jones. We've got Karlaftis. There's a good chance we could still have a Menahue. And if not, who is that other guy we picked up? That other linebacker? His name escapes me at the moment. But
linebacker. Yeah, I mean, this is a defensive tackle, though. Oh, I don't.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, rusher. I don't know. I was so focused on this show that last show is just kind of gone now out of my head. So it was something that we had talked about last episode.
I don't remember a defensive end, but
either way, there's still a good chance we're going to keep him in a Hugh. And I am of the feeling now that we're just going to keep him because only good thoughts manifest good things. So I'm just thinking he's staying.
Menahue can move to all spots of the line, but we need another big boy. Like, I mean, Chris Jones isn't even that much of a big boy when it comes to defensive tackle. And Turk, so Turk. Okay, so last year he got his first real chance to start, and so he had 10 starts and played 17 games, recorded 29 tackles, 6.5 sacks, more than Jones, forced one fumble, and he has a career sack total or tackle total of 114, but he has 13.5 sacks over 72 games and 13 starts. So he had only started 3 times prior. And with this year, just with 10 starts, 6.5 sacks, I think Turk I think that's what they're banking on, giving him this. It's a pretty substantial deal, an average of 15 mil a year. I mean, I think he was really coming up and going to be possibly the next Chris Jones. And that's why I'm kind of bummed that we're losing him. Plus, he's a hero. It's funny that the Panthers signed him because he saved a kid's life at the Panthers Stadium after the game. Kid was reaching over for an autograph and fell head first, and he caught him. And the man can eat 12 eggs.
Yeah. I'm just tired of you talking about this. Those two things every time we talk about every time we bring up his name. He eats 12 eggs and he saved a kid's life.
Yep. Cool. I mean, you can't forget it. He's a hero. And I just think I wouldn't have paid him though. I wouldn't have paid him this. So I'm happy that he got that.
Not close to that. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying he's not the main focus of this defensive line. So I don't think we need to replace him with another guy that's going to cost 12, 15 million a year. I think we can get by with a guy that's 5 to 8 million a year and still let the stars shine.
And I'm not completely sold that he's for sure going to be the next thing. I think he really is hitting his stride now. And I think the Panthers got themselves a pretty good deal with that. So I don't know. It's just a kind of a bummer, but it is I could see us taking 3 different defensive linemen in this draft possibly. So it's not like it's
It's heavy
that
this
big
year.
of a deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's heavy. Yep. So yeah. Um,
What about
let's
why don't
look
you tell us,
the next guy.
yeah.
Yeah. So James Winchester is the long snapper for the Chiefs. In case you weren't aware, because I wasn't, to be completely honest. And honestly, that's a good thing for a long snapper.
That's a good thing.
That's
Yep.
a really good thing for a long snapper. But he agreed to a 1 year deal for 1.65 million, fully guaranteed. And just
What a job.
yeah,
Over a mil a
yeah,
year
yeah.
to snap the ball to the putter
And you know it's cool. So one of the radio stations here
and
in
to that
town,
field goal kicker.
they have Kendall Gammon, I think, on
Yeah.
all the time, and he was the rock long snapper for the Kansas City
For
Chiefs
like
for
what,
like
19
30
years?
years. Yeah, it was
Oh,
like
was it 30?
no. Nobody's played in the NFL that long. But he did
Brady.
play well into an older age than another lineman obviously would because he was just a long snapper. But he played all 17 games and he delivered perfect snaps every time. There wasn't one miss that was caused by a bad snap. So, and Butker ended up from his snaps 21 for 25 out of 25 for the season. So 189 consecutive games for this guy. So he's a workhorse, man. He is going to earn every penny of that 1.65.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what a great job. Well, on to some more sad news. Friend of the show, Justin Reid, signs with the New Orleans Saints.
What is up with the Saints getting all of our defensive backs?
Yeah, I know. They also have the Honey Badger, and
The
he's
Honey
going to be
Badger.
playing on the other side of him. That's a scary safety room right there.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, he signed a 3-year deal at 31.5 mil, with 22.25 mil guaranteed. Now I would have paid him this. This
I
10
know,
mil
man.
a
That's
year.
exactly what I was thinking. Why couldn't the Chiefs have signed him? Another thing we haven't covered, and it wasn't in our notes, but the Chiefs a few days ago, they restructured Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes' contract to free up almost $50 million
Yep.
of cap space. So knowing that, this one really stings. This one really does sting a lot.
Yeah, it's just I think the way that they feel is they've got Cooks still on contract for a bit. Can't really drop him without losing money. Although Cook's nothing close to
Yeah, what's he,
Reid.
1.5, 2 million is my guess. I don't know, but don't
Yeah,
look it up.
he isn't making much, but he's also he just man. Anytime you change direction on the field, he gets burnt. But the thing is, though, we do have Hicks and Jamari Conner. Jamari Conner really is more of a safety. He played nickel mostly last year and kind of got burnt a little bit on that. He had some good flashes, but it wasn't the best. It wasn't like McDuffie played nickel. And he's more of a safety. And then we got Hicks and then we got Cook. So I'm feeling like with Connor moving back out of the slot, I feel like Connor and Hicks are going to get the start and Cook's going to be the backup. Unless Cook gets back to what he was, because he hasn't looked the best since his injury. So maybe a whole off season of working on it, he'll be better. But I think we drafted good, and I think Hicks, because he turned out to be so good, basically just lost Reid his job, which sucks because Reid is such a cool guy, dude.
Yeah, I know. You guys are best friends now.
Best buds, man. Best buds.
If he would have stayed in town,
3-minute conversation. Yeah, our little 3-minute conversation at the golf course. We're tight, bro. We're tight. But yeah, I didn't even realize his stats were so good. He played 16 games in 2024, 87 total tackles, 2 interceptions, 9 pass deflections. For his career with the Chiefs, 265 tackles, 3 INTs, 23 pass deflections over 49 games. So he got 2 of his 3 this year. I mean, I think and he's still pretty young, like 28. I just don't. I really am bummed. I really am bummed that we lost him. He was also another one like Bolton who kind of was the a quarterback on the field. He also was a backup kicker. I mean,
Yeah.
like that's you can't really look past that. That's a really good thing to have on a team.
Do you know how many points he's scored in the NFL over his career? 7. He's got a pick six, and he's got an extra point for the Chiefs.
Well, when he came out and played foot golf at the golf course, he was kicking it better than the guy that he came with from the Sporting KC. I don't know much about soccer, so I didn't know the guy's name, but he came with a guy from Sporting and 2 girls from the ladies team.
Current,
yep. So, but he was nailing the kicks. So, yeah, it's a bummer to lose him. He's a good guy, a good guy in the community, and it's a bummer that he's gone. So, and I wonder if he got swooped in and grabbed before we knew we were going to get them the money and everything. Because that just seems cheap for him. I mean, that's like the same deal that he got when he came to us.
I think it did happen, but a deal like that doesn't just happen in a couple of days, I wouldn't think. A restructuring of a contract for 2 different players isn't something that Brett Veach was like Tuesday morning over breakfast. He was like, I wonder if we could restructure these contracts. Hey, boys, you want to talk? And then 2 hours later, it was done. This had to be something that they had been working on for a few days at least, I would guess. And I think that they knew that they were doing that when the deal with the Justin Reid went down. The Chiefs don't like to pay corners. They like to develop talent from the draft. At least historically, that's what they've liked.
Corners or safeties, pretty much any defensive back.
Defensive back, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, but they did pay Eric Berry.
But I think that deal that Reid got is definitely within.
That's what we paid him to come before.
It might be more than they want to spend, but man, he's worth it. He's worth every penny of that.
Yeah, I just think the room was probably too full, is what they were thinking, and they needed another quarter, and that's what that 10 mil went to. It went to Fulton, which honestly does shore up the team better. So, yeah. Oh well. But how does everybody else feel? Leave a comment on Facebook. Leave a comment on YouTube. I don't even know if we're actually live on X, but you could leave one there too.
You can call or text the number 816-866-1066. Let us know your thoughts.
Yep. We
answer any of our questions.
We are live on X
because we have a lot of questions.
And okay, so what do we got next here?
Day 1 recap: free agency moves. So the Chiefs signed offensive tackle Jalen Moore and running back Elijah Mitchell. Jalen Moore came from, I don't remember where he came from, but Elijah Mitchell came from the 49ers.
Jalen Moore they both came from the Niners.
And we re-signed Nick Bolton and we tagged Trey Smith. So that's kind of a recap over the last week since we've recorded. But Jalen Moore, I think they're kind of downplaying him here in the local media a little bit, and that doesn't compute with me. I can understand when the Raiders think they have this crazy awesome weapon and they want to downplay it a little bit so the rest of the NFL isn't quite ready for it. But when we're talking about local, just the things that I saw from this guy as far as his stats are concerned, he started 15 games for the 49ers last year. He only allowed two sacks in 271 snaps. Now, not all those snaps were left tackle, but 259 of them were as left tackle, and he only allowed 2 sacks and I believe 10 quarterback pressures. But even at 10 quarterback pressures, that's not even 1 per game. I think that would be a massive upgrade to what we saw this year. Even with Joe Tooney,
Oh yeah,
I loved what Joe Tooney did, but that's not his natural position. This
yep.
guy is much more comfortable there. I
Yeah, and I think he's
I'm really really excited about this signing.
yeah, I think I talked about it last week, but I think this was a really slick move by Brett Veach and one people weren't expecting, and it's got a lot of upside, and it is risky, but it has a lot of upside. But we'll just have to see what happens, and I just worry because we've never seen him. I mean, we saw him at the very end start, for quite a few games, but can he last a whole season playing almost every snap? That will remain to be seen because that can weigh on you both physically and mentally.
Well, he started 15 games. That's most of the Chiefs only started 16.
Did he
'Cause remember
start
that?
15 games?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think he started. I think he played 15 games. Started. Was it really the wow? Okay, well then maybe I'm wrong there then.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 15 games.
Any thoughts about the other guys?
Yeah, so Elijah Mitchell, I spent a good hot minute looking for stats for this guy for last year. Turns out he didn't play. He was injured. He got
Yep.
injured in the preseason. I
Oh,
think
I
in
thought I
August.
said that on last
You
week's
may
show.
have, but yeah, like I said, well, once last, it's kind of like a football player in an actual game. They're focused so much on this week's game, they don't remember what happened before. That's this guy right here. So yeah,
Gotcha.
but his 23 stats, he had 75 carries, 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that's in 11 games. I don't know what the average for that is, but his career average is 4.7 yards. Now, I did see that he did have a season, I believe it was 6.3 yards per carry. And we're not talking 200 carries, but still, I think this guy is a serviceable back. But I think as Chiefs fans, I don't think that running back is. We don't want to see serviceable anymore. We've seen serviceable, and I think we run the ball way too much to have just serviceable backs, running back by committee type thing. I don't know if we're going to change it around and see a lot more air in under the ball and less running.
We
That's
forgot to add Hunt signing to the notes. I totally missed that. Dang it. All right, but yeah, go. But
Yeah, no, I mean that's kind of the end of my thought anyway. I mean, it's kind of shaping up to be a running back is kind of the last thought at this point. I think they're going to focus on everything else first going forward.
I'm hoping that they're planning on trading up and getting the best running back of the draft. But I'm gonna wish in one hand, spit in the other, and see which one fills up first.
Is that how that say goes?
That's how it goes on this kid-friendly channel. Yes.
Okay.
That's not how my dad used to say it, though.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we have Elijah Mitchell now, Pacheco, and now we also re-signed Kareem Hunt, which is huge. I can't believe I forgot to put that in the notes since I've been pushing for it so hard, and I was pushing for him last year. But we also have Carson
Steele.
We also have Carson Steele back, but he is classified as a fullback. It's just most teams don't even run a fullback. But last year we did run 4 running backs and 1 fullback, so that leads me to believe we have at least a back coming in the draft. If not, maybe 2. I mean, they might take a stab at one, in the 7th or the 6th, also, and just see if that works out, see what happens, because the Chiefs still aren't sure about Pacheco, and they're unwilling to look into an extension until they see if he can get back to what he was. So I think we're going to draft one, and I think we're going to go in, I think we're going to go into training camp with a good 6 of them, but
Wow.
I think we're going to come out 6 or 7, but I think we're going to come out with just 4. And I'm hoping Carson Steele is cheap. I'm hoping we keep him because I really like him.
I do too, but after the preseason last year, his production. I mean, he just never panned out. I, I want to say the longest run I remember him doing was maybe 9 yards. But you remember in the preseason, man, he was breaking tackles. He was running like Jerome Bettis, like Christian Okoye, like those big bruisers of the old days. And then
Mm-hmm.
we touched on it a little bit. Maybe it's just the preseason goes a little bit slower. We'll see what happens in live action. We had a lot of hopes, but it just didn't pan out. So um, I agree, though. I think they're going to keep him just because he's cheap, and we'll see what he can develop into, I guess, this year.
Yeah, yeah. Benjamin in chat says as long as Carson doesn't keep fumbling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the truth. And I think that's what set him back. I think it really throwing him into the deep end and having him start on the trying to three-peat Kansas City Chiefs was pretty rough. Yeah, and Benjamin also says Andy, won't play you if you can't protect the ball. That is huge on his list, and yeah, but hopefully he learns some stuff from Kareem Hunt. Hopefully, he's got that swagger back. Maybe he wrestles his alligator a bit. And that's his off season workout. So. But yeah, I'm a little worried about the running back room. But Elijah Mitchell he's pretty cheap and he has a lot of upside. He's had a whole year to get better, and hopefully he comes out killing it.
Yeah, just no crazy expectations for this guy, But hopefully he can be a Jag, just another guy, doesn't cough it up, does what he's supposed to do. Makes those blocks for Mahomes, because that is the biggest concern for me right now, is keeping Mahomes safe.
Then we talked plenty about Nick Bolton last week, and then Trey Smith still no long-term deal, and I'm scared that he's just like, well, I feel like I'm not going to get hurt. I'm just going to keep this $23 million and get me a big contract next year. So
if he plays like that, I don't think he will get a big contract next year.
Trey?
Yeah.
Plays
if he
like
plays
what?
Like he doesn't, like he's playing to not get hurt.
Oh,
is that what you just said?
No, I'm saying I think in his mind he could be like thinking I'm not going to get hurt. I mean, he's not injury prone, so
right. Okay.
Yeah, so I think he'll be. I think he might try to stick with it, which will suck so bad. I would assume that he wants to stay in Kansas City, and I don't understand. The Chiefs always do this. We go into free agency with a big old freaking tag on somebody. We did it last year with Snead, and then didn't get him traded till we lost out on a lot of deals and like a lot of different possible players. So I don't know why the Chiefs do this, but I don't know what the end game plan is, but I hope either he gets traded or something, or I'd rather just sign him to a long-term deal. I mean, he's a good guard that's going to last us a long time, not injury prone. I mean, I'd just rather keep him.
Maybe that's the one downside to Veach. He's been so good and so dead on with a lot of his deals that maybe he sits on potential deals too long and loses some value. I mean, the guy's got to have something wrong with him. I mean, he can't do everything perfect. Nobody's that good.
Oh yeah, I wish I was a fly on the wall, just so I could know. But I have gotten a lot of things, a lot of guesses right. So I don't have a guess for this one though. All right. Well, next up, let's talk about. This is like a discussion on the O-line. So what do you think the O-line looks like with the personnel we have now? Because I've been talking about it forever. I thought that Suamataia was going to take over for Trey Smith and we were going to let him go. And then as soon as Trey got tagged, I was like, well, they might be wanting to drop Tooney. And then they trade Tooney. And then now I'm thinking Suamataia goes right in at left guard. But it could be Wanya. I don't know.
I think it's I think it's going to be a competition between Kingsley and Wanye for left guard, and then this Jalen Moore's coming in. Hopefully, he's going to be the answer at left tackle. So I think that's
Yeah, I'm
what it's going to
assuming
look
he's
like.
left tackle. Yeah.
And I think that battle, as long as injuries aren't a factor, I think Kingsley may win that position at left guard. I really do. I think Wanye is a hell of a backup, though, to have for both those positions. A fully healthy Wanye.
Yeah.
Because Wanye was effective as left tackle last year until he got hurt. And then he looked like Kingsley.
Yeah. And it's hard to tell if it was the injury or, it can be things like just tape. You know, once, there was a handful of games on tape, defensive pass rushers can study and figure out weaknesses. Same as a rookie quarterback will do real good their first year, the first half of the year, and then all of a sudden drop off because people have tape.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely could be the case. I don't know. That was a massive drop off, though, and it just that's hard to believe. And we know he was hurt, and it happened just about. We don't know exactly when he got hurt is the problem, but it did happen in that vicinity of time. So I feel fairly confident saying that it was an injury matter more than a tape matter. But
gotcha.
if it is a tape matter, he'll never be successful again because they've got all they need on him, right? They figured him out.
Well, I think normally you're supposed to just get better at those things that you do wrong. But yeah, tape can change a lot for many players, and I just wonder if it was a little bit of that and a little bit of him being, injured. But do you think we're going to add anybody else to the line via the draft? You think we're going to get somebody to not really play, but develop?
I do, but I think before the Jalen Moore signing, I was fairly convinced that was going to be a first and second round focus point. Even though the draft is really light, maybe they might even trade up. But now I'm not so sure. Maybe it might wait until the third or fourth round, and it would be more of a development project at that point. They've got a full year at least with Trey Smith, and we're going to have to start addressing that issue at that point potentially. So it's not like something that they have to address right now anymore. So I'm really happy with where the offensive line is right now, as opposed to a week ago when we had lost Joe Tooney, and as fans, we're all just expecting a draft miracle at this point because we know the draft is light in offensive linemen. We are second to last pick. Everybody in the NFL knows our weakness. It would not surprise me if the Bengals picked a tackle, even if they didn't need one, just to spite the Chiefs. It wouldn't surprise me if the Raiders would do it. Wouldn't surprise me if the Broncos would do it. The 49ers would do it. I mean, there's a lot of teams that hate the Chiefs now that would do it just to spite us.
Even without that, I mean, just the chance at having a good tackle. I mean, there's not enough good tackles. I'm not
fill all 32 teams.
Yeah, I'm not even talking great tackles. I'm talking good tackles to fill all the teams. There's like 22 good tackles. I'm just pulling that off the top of my head. I'd have to look at all of them, but it's somewhere around that. And then there's a whole lot of, there's average ones, and then there's a whole lot of bad tackles. So it's very, yeah. And since tackle is so light this time around, and, this draft, it's very possible a lot of people take tackles early if they don't have any huge needs.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself this week, why is that a thing? Why is left tackle specifically, but offensive line light, and it seems to be lighter each year.
College.
Well, yeah, it's college, but I mean, it's bigger than that. It's been a trend for longer than just the last 4 years. So it didn't just start in college. This is something that's been coming up. Do do kids focus like the big kids? Okay, so my nephew is 17 years old. He plays high school football. He's 6'1". He weighs about 300 pounds. This kid is mean on the field. And I believe that the push for him is defensive line. And I don't know if that's a because it's easier to get in the NFL, or I think it was easier to get in as a defensive lineman over offensive lineman. Will there be a shift going forward where kids are starting to push more towards offensive line growing up and training towards that going as they get older, because the need is so much more. I think the money is going to show it over the next 5 to 10 years. These guys are going to get paid a whole lot more money because that talent set is so rare now.
Yeah, because the pool, because it's basic rules of scarcity. It's
Supply and demand.
yeah, if it's very hard to find, it's going to be pretty expensive. So, but yeah, it's also a big problem with quarterbacks coming out of college because they're just not doing. There's not a lot of colleges that are doing NFL style offenses, and so they come in not even knowing how to take a snap, anything but shotgun. They don't know how to even be under center.
That makes it so much harder for teams to scout them too, because they know they're not going to run that kind of offense. So how do I think this guy running this offense is going to transition over to our offense? Yeah, that's been a thing for a while, though. I don't think that's a new problem.
Well, let's just hope that Mahomes doesn't. Some of the stuff with the line, Mahomes was he just was so uncomfortable with the line. He actually willed himself to get sacked, by bad pocket presence and everything. But he was he was scared. He was running scared. So hopefully he'll feel nice and comfy going into here, and hopefully more works out. But I don't know. That's really all I have to say about that. The line, if you want to.
That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that. All right. Well, next up is our hypothetical mailbag. The first question I'll pose to you, Buck, is: do you think losing Tershawn Wharton means we lean harder on Chris Jones? God, I hope not.
No, I don't, because I think that we've already leaned on Chris Jones.
Last year, he played more than the last 3 years prior to that. He was in for like 94% of snaps, which we can't have, I don't think, going into this next year. I think we have to lean on a new guy coming in, possibly from the draft.
Or a couple of new guys, maybe.
Yeah, but just a defensive tackle standing next to Chris Jones for the most part. Mm-hmm. Problem is that when Jones wants to go to the outside, we need another defensive tackle type to be on the inside. That's the only deal with that. I can't imagine how hard it is for Spags to work through him swapping all over the line, sometimes without permission too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think I would have felt a lot more comfortable had Turk stayed here. I don't think leaning harder on Chris Jones is the answer. I think we need to have Chris Jones play more like 85% of snaps, and I think we'll get more than last year's 5 sacks.
Well, yeah, I think we'll get more than last year's 5 sacks if we find a defensive tackle that can hold his own. I mean, if Chris Jones has to do all the work on that interior and he's getting double teamed every single play, then we're not going to see that.
Well, and we just need Chris off the field for at least 15% of the snaps so he doesn't get worn out. So I think that was the problem this year. If you look at he played way too many snaps, and he's getting older, and we need to be letting him breathe on the sideline more.
And they showed him several times during the season toward the end of the game and longer drives when it was real pressing, he was bent over. I mean, he was struggling.
Yep. Yeah.
Struggle bus.
So what about Xavier Worthy? Do you think he's ready to be wide receiver one?
No.
No.
No, I don't think he's ready for wide receiver one. I don't know. I'm going to be honest here. I don't know that he'll ever be a wide receiver number one. I don't.
You don't think so, huh?
I don't think so. And hey, man, I hope I'm wrong. Prove me wrong, Xavier. I will, whatever. I'll bow down, kiss your feet, tell Bobby was right. I mean, whatever.
He was basically wide receiver one last year.
Not officially. He was wide receiver one after Rice got hurt before Hopkins got here.
Well, Rice was running the slot. Rice wasn't.
Yeah, but he was wide receiver one.
Oh, okay. I'm talking X, dude. I'm talking wide receiver one, the X receiver,
the actual the position of the guy. So if he runs an audible and before the play and he runs over to the left hand or the right hand side, he's no longer wide receiver one.
No, the X receiver is usually the one that would line up at the top of the field, furthest from the quarterback. Could be
right.
Could be put into motion, but that's usually your number one guy, your wide receiver one. I don't think anybody ever called, even though Edelman might have been the best wideout they had on the team, I don't think they ever called him wide receiver one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that lingo, though. But, yeah, do you think he's ready to be that guy that is, not doing the gimmicky plays and stuff like that?
Maybe given an off season, his biggest thing was, he could get the separation, but he couldn't always get the separation. And I think that affected a lot of Mahomes, even considering going to him. Mahomes didn't have a whole lot of time to go to his second, third, and fourth options. So if he's at a spot where he just doesn't think that Worthy is going to get open, Worthy might not even be getting a look. Maybe he works on his explosiveness. Maybe he works on his cuts. Maybe he works on his route running. Who knows?
The route running would be big. Cuts, angles. That's what I saw a lot of times with him. He could beat people with just angles. He doesn't need to use moves. Just do the Tyreek Hill thing.
When he catches the ball.
That's what I was waiting for you to say about him being the X. Is can he keep his feet in and not on the sideline? That was what I was probing for.
We saw it. It happened, but it didn't happen a lot. But I think it got better as the season went on. I still don't. Psychologically speaking, I don't think naming him wide receiver one is a good idea.
Well, I think he's just going to be wide receiver one because I just don't see Rashee Rice ever being an X, pure X, just because of his speed. But he's just way better, comfortable in the slot, and he kills it there. And so that's enough. We forgot to say Juju Smith-Schuster came back too. I was thinking about other slot guys.
I didn't hear that one actually.
Yep,
he might be our wide receiver one. Side note,
wide receiver one.
I know what I know.
Everybody
what I said,
in the comments, let us know actually what the actual lingo is. Is wide receiver one your X, or is it just the best wideout you have? Because
now, when you say X, I think you're referring to when we played Madden.
No, I'm referring to.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
that
Madden
was the
also,
X receiver.
Yeah, Madden also puts the X there.
Was the wide receiver too? Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know what they call the other X receiver if it's just another X. But we're still new to all this. We're still learning a ton. So if anything you guys can teach us, happy to learn. But yeah, so what about Reid? How do we replace Justin Reid's leadership in the secondary? Do you think? I think one of the young guys just has to step up.
Yeah, either that or this Christian. Well, what's his last name again? The new guy that we signed from the Chargers, Christian Fulton. He may be, maybe that's one of his strong points. We don't know. Um, we don't know specifically you and I because we haven't paid attention to him. Some of you out there may be paying more attention to him than we are, and you might have an idea of that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just going to be a leadership by committee. Somebody's, they're all going to start the season, pumping each other up, and somebody's just going to naturally fall into that role. And that's just kind of how life works. If there's a group of people, a couple of them always kind of stand out and become the leaders of the group. It just kind of happens. So
Yeah, if there's
organically.
I hope whoever becomes that leader is a good leader, because sometimes you become a leader just because you're the only one that can do it, but you can't do it well. I've had that problem many times in my life. I could lead, people follow. I ain't the best leader though, so I try. But some people are just built for it, and I am not one of them. All right, you want to do this last segment here? It's a little free agency winners and losers.
Yep. Who's popping champagne and who's crying in their barbecue sauce? Let's rank them so far. Our free agency pickups so far this year: Jalen Moore, the offensive tackle; Gardner Minshew, our quarterback; Colt Christensen, a linebacker; another linebacker, which I think we signed off our practice squad actually, Blake Lynch.
Blake Lynch, he came and played that one game against the Broncos at the end of the year, week 17, and he led the team in tackles, and then we dropped him. I think we signed him back to the practice squad a little later.
No, the notes that I saw made it look like, and I may have read them wrong. It looked like he released himself. He didn't sign another practice squad deal, and then it was a couple weeks later they signed him to the team, I guess, for the preseason. I'm not real clear on how that all went. I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time researching some guy that probably isn't going to make the biggest difference in the world, but then we got Elijah Mitchell, running back we kind of talked about, Robert Tonyan, tight end, and Christian Fulton, quarterback. So out of those 7 individuals, which is the biggest signing for us, do you think?
Just on sheer talent, or making the team as a whole better?
Making the team as a whole better.
Then Jalen Moore, I think, is the biggest win for us so far. A possible starter for us for years to come too, if he works out. And such a hard position to fill, and to find somebody, a backup that was like that, that's still young.
Now, I can't argue with anything you've just said. I mean, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there, but I think that Christian Fulton could be a huge pickup too. He's got experience. We've got a young defensive back room, and he's not young, but he's also not old. So he's got experience. I think he could end up being a bigger difference maker to this team.
So you're putting Christian Fulton at 1?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
And then I would then put Jalen Moore at number 2, I think.
Well, that makes sense, because I'm putting Christian Fulton as number 2.
All right.
What about your number 3?
Number 3, I think, is going to be... I think it's going to be Cole Christensen. I didn't do a whole lot of research, but he's got some experience. He's a big dude. I kind of like his upside. So I think here's my thing. Gardner Minshew is a name everybody knows, right? But he's a backup quarterback. If he is the biggest contributor to this team, we're in trouble. Because we're in big trouble, because quarterback number 1 is down at that point. So to me, automatically, Gardner Minshew is already going to be at the bottom. Blake Lynch just got signed from the practice squad. So my guess is he's probably going to go back to the practice squad after they start making cuts in the preseason. So I don't think he's a big one. Elijah Mitchell, he's decent, but I don't think the running game is going to be nearly as prevalent as it was last season. So I don't think he's going to be the biggest difference maker. And Robert Tonyan, I don't know who that is at all. So I figure he's probably not going to be the biggest contributor going forward.
So who's your number three?
My number 3 is Cole Christensen.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
That was a
So
long explanation as to why he was number 3.
so I am going to put Elijah Mitchell as my number three.
And he would be my number 4.
He's number three just because of the price we got him for and the possible upside. That's what I think there. Cole Christensen, I'm not super big on. I did like Blake. Like Blake Lynch was the only bright spot in that game against Denver where he played with all the backups and he outshined them by a mile with the amount of tackles. He was all over the field. He had tons of speed. So I give Blake Lynch number 4. Who's your 5?
My number 5 would be probably Blake Lynch. Yeah,
Okay.
yep, Blake. Yeah, I just don't think this Tanyan guy, and I don't think Minshew being a help to this team is a help to this team at all.
Well, I'm putting Gardner Minshew at 5 because I think that it's just
What he does for the overall sideline.
well, and just we're talking about what makes the team better. You know, there's always a possibility that quarterback goes down or he needs to go get concussion protocol. Needs to go get ankle watch. You know, we didn't have ankle watch. You know this last year, but we had it every other year.
What's ankle watch? Oh, the Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes' ankle.
He did. He did. We did have it a little bit.
I guess just not during the Super Bowl, but
Yeah, it wasn't during the Super Bowl, and it wasn't the biggest thing in the world. Like he wasn't. It wasn't one of those things where is he or isn't he going to play this week, which we have had.
yeah. And I'll give you my 6 is Cole Christensen. I don't know, man. I'm not big on him. He's been with us for a bit, and I'm just not
Fair.
big on him. And then that would make 7 the tight end that I also don't know much about. And I heard something about him, but wasn't super interested. But who's your 6 and 7?
So my 6, I think I would put Gardner at 6.
Oh, okay.
Because
I thought you said you were going to put him at last or whatever.
No, I'm going to put Tanyan last. I'm going to agree with you on that one. I just think I think if Minshew has to come in and play, we're already in more trouble than we can dig out of. So if he's the guy, then we're already screwed. But I think what he's going to bring to the sidelines, I think just for that, I might even bump him up a notch to 5. But I'll let Blake Lynch keep number 5.
Yeah, but then, yeah,
So
I
out
don't
of this,
think. Okay, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, so out of those guys, who are the winners and the losers? Well, not just those guys. It's all of the transactions that the team has made.
I mean,
So
the
far
biggest
this
loss is
offseason.
Reid. Reid was a huge loss. I
Loss for
am
the
bummed
Chiefs.
about losing Turk. Wharton is, I think, a pretty big loss just because I think he's really coming into his own now, and I think we're going to see him do a lot of good things on the Panthers, and would have been cool to keep him here, but not for $15 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
But
think the
Christian-
Panthers are winners if he turns out to be as good as I think he's going to be over his career.
Quite possibly. I think Christian Fulton is one of the big wins.
I think it's a huge win.
Yeah.
Huge win.
'Cause I think we'll be able to maximize, get the most out of him with Spags and Andy Reid and the way that they run the team and they let the players be themselves and show their personality. And I just like that
He's a big tough dude.
mindset when you're running a team. Athletes have big personalities a lot of times, and if you try and stifle that can and will affect their play on the field. So when you embrace that and even promote that, they've even come out and said in the media, we let the guys be themselves. Why put handcuffs on them? I absolutely love that point of view, and I think that lends itself to new additions to the team coming in and being successful also.
Unless they're starting fights like Hendershot last year.
Well,
I saw
okay,
3 different times he tried to start a fight.
with the other team at least. It wasn't.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't a teammate. Yeah.
All right, well that's all. I think that's all we got for today, and we've run out of time now. Well, okay, we'll do this wrap up real quick. If you want to find us, you can find all of our links everywhere we put out content, whether it be clips, on TikTok or full episodes on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. Everything is at BukNBob.com. It's BukNBob.com. And you can find everything there. Guys, if you really help us out, we're trying to just stay in the algorithm, but it's tough, especially in the off season, and we're new. Just leave a comment. We'll probably start doing top comment of the week or something like that. Like, leave a comment on YouTube if you're watching on Facebook. Share it to your family and friends. If you're watching on X, like, 100 people watch the episode every week, but no one follows us on X. Follow us on X to help us out. It's like we got like 12 followers, but like at least 100 views on every one of them. So make it worth it for us to go there. And those that have been helping, thank you. Tell your friends about it. I've talked way too long. Buck, where can we find you?
You can always find me on Facebook as part of Buck and Bob. You can also find me at Twitter. It's at Buck_tastic. That's BUK_TASTIK.
Yep. And you can find me on X at Blazin_Bob. It's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can also find me on Facebook and stuff too, but I don't really interact with a ton of people on Facebook anymore. But you can definitely find me on X. And yeah, let's get out of here, Buck.
How about those
Chiefs?